Football wise is starting to heat up. Today's Kentucky's day at the SEC Media Days down in Nashville, so we'll see how they do, where they're picked in the league. And you said next week is Big Ten Media Day, and we all know what the number one story is going to be there this year. It's no longer just going to be an Ohio State Michigan thing. It's going to be Northwestern. But been reading a lot of stuff about IU. Expectations are not real high for this team.
Nobody knows anything. It's like this may be the most unknowing year of all years. I mean, we've had the quarterback issue for several years, but we knew who they were, knew what they were capable of, knew what they had done. It's kind of a blank slate right now. It's like, whoop, just completely unknown.
Yeah, and maybe that's the way obviously it's the way they want it. I think after 2 years ago, when there was so much hype, so many expectations, so much anticipation, and the bottom fell out, that they've sort of recalibrated the way they approach this. And having no expectations might be a good thing. But they need to do better than 4-8. They need to get back to a bowl this year to regain any kind of momentum. Is that possible? I don't know. It'll be hard. They're going to have to. They have to beat Louisville to do that. They are, because otherwise they're going to have to win 4 Big Ten games, and that's probably pretty unlikely. But I guess the reasons to be optimistic are what I've read and heard. The offensive line coach is a big improvement over what they had. They have most of those guys back, and they've developed some younger guys. So that's been what's really hurt them the last 2 years, is they haven't been able to run the ball at all effectively, and they haven't been able to protect the quarterback. I mean, how many quarterbacks have they had get hurt because they can't block for them?
All of them.
Yeah. So and that's pretty basic football 101. And then defensively, I would actually have more concern this year on defense, because they lost some really good players. And I know they've done a lot of work in the transfer portal, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be it's just going to be a guessing game. I don't think that they can get to a bowl game, because there are too many unknowns, and the fact that there are that many unknowns means we just have no idea, and I don't know that they have how much of an idea that they have from within. The quarterback situation, you cannot not know who your quarterback is 4 years in a row. That you just can't. That just tells me you've got nothing going on. If you don't have a quarterback name for 4 straight years, or I guess 5 straight years, no, I don't know that a quarterback has ever been named going into the season.
Right. Well, but at least when they had Peyton Ramsey, you felt like they had a guy who could play quarterback. And then Penix had a little bit of hype, and then when he actually got in, he was good. I'm not sure that we know if any of these guys are capable of playing at the level that Ramsey or Sudfeld or Penix played at. I mean, I'd say most people would say they aren't at that level. And as we talked about before we really went on air, I mean, it used to be, and that was under Wilson mainly, but even when they weren't great, they were entertaining. They had some dudes on offense. I mean, Tevin Coleman was a dude. Jordan Howard was good. Redding? He was a running back. He had 1,000. Yeah, he was good. And we've gone back in some of the other guys, whether it was, DeMarlo Belcher, James Hardy, Cindy Cobbs, Nick Westbrook. They had Mitchell Page. I mean, they haven't had guys like that the last few years. Jalen Lucas seems to have that kind of ability if they can get him the ball. But it's
if they can keep him in Bloomington, the fact that they kept him last year was
true.
A surprise. So
that's a
good thing.
Well, you keep him, you better use him.
And you better protect him.
You better protect him. So we'll see. I mean, it's just, how many times have they opened the season now against Ohio State? This is at least the second. It might be the third.
Oh, it's at least the third. I think they've opened the Big Ten season 4 out of the last 7 years, which is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, next year will be such a change. I think they don't play any of them, right? Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, they don't play any of the three. Um, they've just been, you got to get to a point though where you don't look at those games and say automatic L, automatic L, automatic L. I hate to go over this, but I mean, Louisville did that. They beat Florida State. They stood in there and slugged it out with them. They beat them many times. They didn't never beat Clemson, but they slugged it out with them. Kentucky has gotten to the point where they've beaten Florida 3 of the last 5 years. They got a win against Tennessee. They haven't beat Georgia lately, but they've won a few games against LSU. Indiana, you can't go into a season saying Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, those games are hopeless. Then you're down to 9 games and you got to win 6 of them.
Yeah,
right?
you're hoping that your non-con season or conference schedule will get you through, and that hasn't been the case the last couple of years with Cincinnati and now Louisville on there.
Right.
And speaking of Louisville, Purdue's going to have a drop off. The change in coaches always creates a little problem,
Yeah.
but I think Purdue's
quarterback
going to
look.
drop off a little further than people realize.
Yeah, I mean their quarterback's gone to the NFL, right? And then the kid who was supposed to be the backup transferred to Louisville, and I'm sure they had some other attrition. I think a couple of other guys off that team transferred to Louisville. So, yeah, I mean where's the game this year? It's at Purdue, I think, though, right? Didn't they play them?
Yes, I believe you are correct, sir.
Yeah, that's a game. If you're going to be good, you got to be able to beat Purdue. And how many years have they lost to Purdue in a row now? At least they didn't play them in 2020 because of the pandemic, but they lost to them in 21 and 22, maybe 3 in a row, either 2 or 3 in a row. I know Tom Allen's only beaten them once, right?
Yep, it's not good. At least Archie Miller's not here anymore, so they got rid of that.
I don't know. You gotta show progress. You gotta show progress. And when I look back at last year going forward, they beat Michigan State, but even a couple of those games they won, man. That Idaho game was kind of shaky for a while. The Western Kentucky game was shaky for a while. I mean, you got to show progress.